Rebellious Studio presents the Mind Body Podcast with your host, Maria Angelova. Hi, Rebels. Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. It is a great pleasure to welcome with me today my guest, Bronwyn Shortino, all the way from Australia. I think you're my guest from the furthest away, Bronwyn. So exciting. We managed to coordinate the time difference, but here we are. So Bronwyn is an internationally renowned author, simplicity expert, and professional speaker. And I'm really excited for us to be talking because you talk to us about simplifying our life, which I think there is so much power to that, and embracing an economy of enough. Sounds intriguing. But before we dive into all that, Bronwyn, let's start with learning who is Bronwyn. Give us 3 words and a little bit of a story behind each to who you are.
Well, thank you for having me. First off, I was just saying before, I haven't done a podcast for a while now. So when you asked me to join you, I was just like, yes, I'd love to. So who am I in 3 words? I'm adventurous. And I think with adventure for me, I came from being a perfectionist and living in a world where everything was about making sure everyone else was okay, but behind a facade for me of, my life is perfect and everything's under control. So for me, adventurous now is all about just dropping success and failure from the dictionary. They don't exist anymore. And instead, I put my toe in the water and I try things. And I sort of use the analogy in life that if something doesn't work, that's just as exciting and just as fantastic as if something does work. Because when something doesn't work for you, it is a really clear indication really quickly. You don't need to keep going down that pathway. There's nothing else you need to learn down there. You can come back and put your toe in the water in a different place. So adventurous from that point of view. I think connected is another really great word to describe me. I really connect with what I do, with how I do it, and really consciously connect with life so that I can make my decisions from a conscious standpoint about who I am, what I want to be doing, what I'm seeing in the world, and what I want to actually connect with. And I think the third word that would describe me really well is loving. So I'm very empathic. I have a very, very strong connection, and there's that word again, with particularly animals on the planet. I just have such an amazing love for our world and for the possibilities and for the opportunities that we have to really do things in a simple way to significantly change the way that we can live our lives.
Yeah. So well, and so powerfully said everything that you said. And you started with talking about being a perfectionist. So from one ex-perfectionist to another, it seems like we have gone a long way from perfectionism to where we are in embracing life as an adventure and letting go of that control and really savoring life for all that it has to offer rather than trying to control everything. Let's talk about your journey of how you managed to let go of control, because it could be pretty scary, especially for a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's very true. For me, I was almost forced to let it go. I just pushed myself so hard for so long. We hear a lot about stress and exhaustion and burnout today, and it's a very sort of visible environment and visible topic that we talk about. But when I went through it, I just pushed completely through burnout. Burnout was like just the ripple on the surface for me. I just kept going and going and going. And I didn't stop. And because I had that facade to hold up, and I was terrified of what would happen if that dropped. And eventually it was me that dropped. And my life shattered into a million pieces on the floor around me in less than 60 seconds. And I spent 3 years off the back of that, just putting myself, picking up each piece and having a look at it and saying, okay, what role does this play? How has this helped me? Will it help me moving forwards? Yes or no? And essentially, I just built Bronwyn 2.0. And I think in life, we have so many choices, and we don't recognize that sitting and doing nothing and letting ourselves continue in the way that we're living, we don't recognize that that is actually making a choice. And it feels like we have no control. And I guess the dichotomy there is that all we want is control in our lives, and we actually don't have any. And I think when you realize that you have no control and you actually let that go, it's so much easier to just flow with with what happens in life. And so for me, it was a massive lesson that took me 3 years to really unravel and repiece and put myself back together in a different way. I guess I really just surrendered to the process, and I surrendered to, control is almost an outdated concept that, really it doesn't help us, it doesn't serve us, and it really just holds us in place, stuck doing things we don't love, stuck in ill health, stuck, being really unwell, unhappy, and, miserable.
Yeah. I very much can relate to your story because I was also very much taught to push no
Yeah.
matter what. And it was always push, 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 pretend like you have control. And like you said, you have to hold it together because your life is perfect, right? And
Yep.
it has to be that way. And it, like you said, it took me kind of like a dive down before I could come up through a little bit of a different situation, but still to where I was like, now what? And it really forced me to reevaluate my ways of thinking and what I was holding on to, what I was pretending to have control over. And has been transformational. And to live in flow versus push and force, it's such an incredible feeling. So let's hear what are the benefits for you of letting go, surrendering of perfectionism, surrendering of control, and really embracing the journey of life.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest realization for me is that we're all of us waiting for our moment. We're waiting for that moment where we're forced to stop. We're waiting for the trauma before we feel that we're allowed to do things differently. And interesting, as I was recovering and I was starting to do things differently, so many people said to me, it's okay for you because you're allowed to, because, and they sort of was literally mirroring back to me that because I had been broken, because I had been unwell, because it took me a long time to recover, I was allowed to do things differently. But for them, obviously, it's a different situation because they haven't had that. And so that was really interesting, seeing that come to the forefront and really getting a consciousness around that. Because the truth is, we have the ability, the capability, the opportunity, and the license to make whatever choices we want to in life. And I think the real key for me has been that conscious connection, that conscious, awareness of what's happening in the moment. So I can pull myself up now because, you get into those moments where you are trying to force things to happen and where you are struggling against things, and you don't even realize that subconsciously you're struggling against things and you don't need to. And it's when you quit the struggle and when you drop the force and when you don't try and make things happen, that's when everything's so easy. That's when things come to you, the opportunities knock on the door, something comes across your email that, there's a collaboration, or there's a come and have a chat on my podcast. And suddenly here you are sitting, having a conversation with someone on the other side of the world. It's just so aligned and it's so easy, and it doesn't matter that we're in completely different time zones and we're having conversation from different offices and different standpoints. We can come together because we've found the alignment and the flow is in place. So I just sort of think that quitting that struggle is the key piece of the puzzle, if you like. We're taught that without the stress, without the exhaustion, we're not allowed to have success. But actually, the truth is we can be happy, healthy, and highly successful. All we have to do is just simplify the way we do things and get really consciously connected with who we are and what's right for us.
Everything that you say It's like honey for my soul. But you know what was one of the most amazing things for me? I mean, I was happy, you know, I was not like depressed or anything like that in my life. It's just I jumped from corporate to entrepreneurship thinking the business is just gonna pick up. And then all of a sudden I was stuck, very stuck, because I wanted to do things and things were not going my way. I was trying to control things, right? I didn't even really understand the concept of flow. And living the life that I live now, I didn't even sign up for that. I just made a change that felt that I was driven towards by my intuition, by my passion, by something I wanted to do. And finally, when I let go and I said, fine, if we're going to go this way, let's see what's there, because I really want to go this way, but life is pulling me. So let's just see what's there. And the way the journey has unfolded is so much more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. And it's really hard to even describe it to people who have not gone through that type of transformation. And I think for some people, they don't even understand like what it means to live a life of alignment and life in flow.
Yeah, and I guess one of the best analogies I've heard around that is when you think about programming a GPS, it doesn't ask you how you got to where you are to start with. It just says, where are you at? And then it says, where do you want to go? And you put the end address in and you hit find me a route. You don't say, but I don't want to drive on this road and I don't want to turn that corner and I don't want to see that person and I don't want to, you know, nearly run over a dog and I don't want, you don't put any of that information in. You just say, this is where I am, this is where I want to go. And it tells you the best route. And I think we don't do that with our lives. We try and put too much control, too much force and too much struggle into mapping the route. When instead, if we just said, here we are, and it doesn't matter how we got here, it doesn't matter what's gone before, but this is where we're at, and here's where we want to go. Dear universe, please show me the route. And you just let it unfold. And it's a completely different experience to, you know, really narrowing all the opportunities that are available and that can come into your sphere.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about living simply and living with an economy of enough. I do have to tell you, I was trying to go down a path in my head today. And to your point of things always appearing in the right moment, I looked at your bio and the statement of embracing the concept of economy of enough. I was like, thank you, universe. I was like, that's what I needed to hear to kind of ground me back. So it always amazes me how the messages sometimes come from the most unexpected places, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to listen.
You just have to listen and be open to it, right? Talk to us a little bit about living simply and living with an economy of enough, because that's definitely a thing in today's world that we never have enough.
Yes. And I think when I get asked about living simply, people think that that means I must be minimalist. I must miss out on a lot of things. I must, you know, not be able to do a lot of things. I must, you know, all of these things, right? But actually living simply is, as I'm going to say it, as simple as understanding who you are, understanding what you want, and then creating the simplest pathway with the simplest steps to get you there. As human beings, we have this extraordinary ability to make the simplest things as complex as possible. I don't know where it's come from. It must be in our DNA somewhere, but I'm living proof that you can actually change that. So I think we spend so much time in overwhelm, we spend so much time stressed, we spend so much time living in this whirlwind of chaos that is created by everyone else's stuff, really. You know, whether it is the marketing programs that are out there that are all about brainwashing you into believing that this material thing you need, and if you don't have it, your life will be terrible. You know, and all of them are designed to hit our trigger points so that we have to have that thing, otherwise we'll miss out. And fear of missing out is one of the biggest drivers in life that just keeps you trapped in a circle, running around and round and round and round and round and round, chasing everyone else's stuff. Yeah, so the most important thing is to understand who you are. Why do you need what you need? Why is it that you want the things you want? And that why is really important, because the why is the thing that you keep coming back to. So for me, it's about, I want a life that's aligned. I want a life that I can live in flow easily. And I want to be connected so that I'm consciously aware of when life starts to get pulled off track, and I can correct that. They're really simple things. That doesn't mean that I don't have things. That doesn't mean I don't go anywhere. That doesn't mean that I'm not successful. That doesn't mean I'm not happy. That doesn't mean I'm squashing my life. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that simple structure is what I'm aiming for. And then everything that appears, every opportunity that comes along, every person that wants to work with me, every person that wants to have a conversation, I can actually align that and say, okay, who is this person? What are their values? What are they putting out there? How are they wanting to do things? Does that align with what I'm wanting to do, what I want to achieve, yes or no? And if it's a yes, great, let's investigate it more. If it's a no, it's no, thank you, not the right opportunity for me. And it's about really just simplifying things with questions that really help you to connect consciously and consciously make decisions that direct your life. So it's not, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
And then the economy of enough is about, okay, let's not get stuck in that material cycle that just keeps you running round and round and round and round. And you end up with so much stuff around you because you keep grasping for things that you think are going to make you happy. And it's not the things that make you happy, it's you in a happy state that makes you happy. And you can't be happy with the stuff around you until you're happy with what you've got going on inside. So, we're taught right from a very early age that we look outside ourselves for our answers. For a lot of people, the last time they made a decision for themselves is the time that they first decided to crawl. Because nobody's told them to do that. They've just crawled, and then suddenly everyone around them is like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Yay, you're incredible. And from that point, it's like, okay, now it's time to walk, and then it's time to run, and then it's time to go on the playground, and then it's time to do this, and everybody's directing that. So we're taught to look outside ourselves for our answers, but our answers are on the inside of us. We're the only ones that know who we are. We're the only ones who know what we need. So therefore, we're the only ones that can make the connected choices for ourselves. So it's about reconnecting with that and then working out what you actually need at the basic level to help you get to where you want to go. And the economy of enough comes into play, I guess, because it's about, that's enough. You're enough. You don't need all the material stuff around you and all of the fanfare and everything else for you to be okay. And so that concept of the economy of enough is, what do you actually need to feed your soul so you're okay?
And that last sentence that you made, that last statement, what do you need for your soul, right? Because I have a preteen, and we have this conversation frequently about, well, my friend said this, so-and-so said this, like now girls are talking to boys, the boy said that, so she wants to feel good because the boy said that. And it's like, no. It's not what about everybody else says. It's about you finding that peace inside you. And I think it almost sounds like an innovative concept because, most of my clients are middle-aged, and you start seeing, the changes into the exterior, the changes into the material, in that zest to find something that they don't really know what they're looking for. And the answer is not, like you said, it's on the outside. The answer starts on the inside. So well said. And you keep repeating the word alignment, which is one of my favorite words, because I teach physical alignment, but also mental and emotional alignment. And it is so key to stay true to ourselves and to live a life that's aligned with who we are and not what we're told by everybody else how we should live.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think part of that, that middle-age conversation too is how to remain relevant. And I think that's why we start to see the external changes and the materialism and stuff like that, because you're trying to stay relevant. And the relevancy comes from the inside as well, because when your soul's at peace, the external actually molds to you, not the other way around.
And I think that's a scary place where you get to that point where you're seeking so much of the external, because the only thing that it does is it just puts the cuffs that much tighter around you, because then you need more because it's just, and then it's like you cannot pull away from it because it becomes your security blanket.
Yeah, that's right.
Security blanket.
Well, that's what you've been taught too.
Yeah, the safety, right? You're safe. So love it. Let's see. What is your definition of rebellious, Bronwyn?
My definition of rebellious is being exactly who you are, no matter what's going on, no matter who says what. It's loud, or not loudly even, but just proudly standing firmly in the absolute strength of who you are and bringing that to the world. For me, it's about, I don't care if everybody else is walking that way, but that doesn't work for me and I need to walk that way, then I will do that. And it's so funny how the more you do that, the more people actually start to do it as well. Because it's like, oh, hang on, we're allowed to do this? It's like, yeah, you are. And for me, there's nothing more, soothing for my soul than seeing a whole heap of other people have that light come on in their eyes, where they just go, I'm allowed to do this. I'm going to take that step too.
It's so well said, because I think when we're true to ourselves, when we are authentic and we let our light shine, it makes the others curious, and it's almost like it gives them permission to be like, if she does that, maybe I can try that too, right? So it gives them, and it becomes contagious. But then when you start getting surrounded by a tribe of people who, think alike, like are conscious like you, it starts becoming such a fun experience having those great conversations that you got other people who understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think as well, when I first started writing my books and I first started doing my programs and those sorts of things, you feel like you're so far out on the limb in front of everyone else, and no one's out there with you, and it feels kind of lonely. And people are saying, well, what are you doing out there? Come back over here. And it's like, but I don't want to be over there. It's not comfortable for me. I'm not happy there. And even though I'm on my own out there, I'm actually happier. And then, one or two people sort of dip their toe in the water, and they come out and they hang with you for a while. And then they sort of go back to the crowd a bit, and then they come back out, and then 3 or 4 more come out, and there's more and more people that you can have that conversation with. And it's interesting how I find in my life that I'm constantly going out on the limb. I'm constantly going out there and trying new things, and then 1 or 2 people will join, and then I'm out there again. And it's kind of fun now. I used to find it really lonely, but I get absorbed in it now. It's really interesting how that's opened up as well.
I can completely relate to your story, because at the beginning of my journey, at the very start, I felt like by myself on an island with nobody who could know what I'm going through, who could understand. And now the journey is so fun to, constantly connecting with people from all over the world that, that we share common thoughts and beliefs, and we can grow together. And it's so empowering.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's wrap up with a favorite quote or anything you want to leave us inspired with.
Look, I have so many favorite quotes, I can't pick one. I would say the thing to leave you with is, what value do you place on your life? Ask yourself that question, because so many of us don't do, the work on ourselves because we don't have time. We're too stressed. It's going to be too painful. It's going to cost us too much. It's going to take too much time, all of those sorts of things. But we're not on Earth for a long time. Relatively our time here is short. And we do have a choice around how we spend the time that we have here. And, most of us are already in pain. We're already living with discomfort. We're already living with angst and, disease and being unwell and all of those sorts of things. So if you've got a choice to do things differently and there's a little bit of discomfort and you have to sort of be a bit squirmy, and I sort of think maybe it's time to think about whether or not it's worth the discomfort in trying things that are really aligned for you versus just sitting in the discomfort of what is known. You know what this is like, it's uncomfortable, that you're unhappy, that you're pushed to your limits. Why not put the discomfort on the other side and just try and sit in something that's actually much more aligned with you, you're, passionate about. And if you're going to be uncomfortable, you might as well experience the discomfort doing something that you love. And the discomfort doesn't last forever in doing things that you love. And I think that's the shining light that we've sort of maybe not headed towards before.
Yeah. I frequently tell clients that you only have a chance of changing anything if you try to change it. If you keep doing the same thing, nothing is going to change, right? And
Yep.
we focus so much on what can go wrong, but we don't ask frequently enough, what if things go right?
Yep. That's
so
right.
That you're making. Enjoying this conversation so much, Bronwyn. All right, tell us, we can keep talking for a very long time. Tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can follow you, how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so I spend a little bit of time in social media, in Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can definitely find me in both those places. And it's Bronwyn Shortino author in Facebook and Bronwyn Shortino in LinkedIn. And you can also find me through my website, which is www.cheiqlife.com. So that's SHEIQLIFE.com.
We're going to share those along with the episode posting. Bronwyn, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here as my guest. If you Rebels have any questions or comments, please definitely share. I thank you for being with me. I wish you continued success. I thank you guys for listening, and make sure to tune in next time. Meanwhile, make it a rebellious one. See you later. Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.